It's time for a custom makeover. This dresser is about to turn into something completely different for a client. It's a solid maple tall dresser, and we're going to make a matching dresser to this. So this is the dresser that my client purchased, and I searched and searched for a dresser that would go with it, and this is what I found, a solid maple dresser for $60 on Marketplace. And it's hard to see there under the manufacturer's stain, but dovetails, very nice, well-built, solid wood through and through. This is another dresser that I did in the same style, and so that's what we're going for. I think that's going to coordinate nicely with the other long dresser. The first chore, though, I hope this isn't a sign of things to come, but the hardware was even hard to get off. Of course, this is from the 1960s, so 50, 60 years old. This hardware's been on there that long, and sometimes it just doesn't want to come off. But the pull came out, and then there was a back plate, and that was a little bit harder to get off. It took a putty knife and then finally getting the hammer to pry that off of there, and then realizing that they had drilled a bunch of holes and stuff to make this work. But look at this cute pull. I'm keeping that. It's not going with this dresser, but I'm definitely keeping that for something else. The back plate, not so much. It's in that batwing style, and I know people like this style of hardware. I just do not care for it, so it's all coming off. My client doesn't like it either, so we're going to be swapping it out because it's got to coordinate with the other dresser. So once I got all of that off of there, it's time to spray this thing down. It's filthy dirty. And just completely spray it all down with my degreaser, and then I got out the scrubber. This one needed to just get a good cleaning. I actually ended up having to clean the top of that twice. It was so dirty. Just going to scrub it all. And then I have a damp microfiber towel that I'm following behind there and just wiping everything off. And I'm taking the drawers out as I go, but I'm keeping them in order. I don't want these to get out of order because they fit nicely where they are. And time to get everything wiped down inside. Most people don't take their drawers out to dust underneath, so it's quite dirty inside. But look at the back is even wood, and it's from 1964. I love it when the back panel is even solid wood. Okay, while I have the drawers out and I know what order they go in, I'm taking my Sharpie and I'm just numbering them. Vintage furniture likes to stay as it is. So I make sure that I number everything when I have the drawers in a place that fit. So I'm laying this down, putting it on some wheels because I've got to trim this base. The client wants that nice, sleek look that resembles the other tall dresser I did, but also follows along with the design of that long dresser. And I'm going to use my jigsaw. I've got a clean cut saw blade on there. It's new. I've barely used it. And I like to have my shop vac on so I can pull some of that sawdust out of there. And this is so solid. This jigsaw is going nowhere. And it's smoking. I don't know. Can you see that smoking? It is smoking. Well, let me try it a little more. Oh, still smoking. I'm going to start a fire in a minute. And I'm not in a campground, so catching this dresser on fire is not in the plan at all. So I've got to switch modes here. So I've got out my 4-inch circular saw. And what I was trying to do was just actually cut in with the jigsaw, which I couldn't even do because this is so thick. So I had to just dive in with this one. And I'll cut all the way. I was able to cut all the way through, and I just had to kind of touch up the corners with the jigsaw and then, of course, with the sander. And as you can see from the photos, this base is all getting stripped anyway. So now I've got my lacquer thinner. You could probably do this with acetone. Certainly this could be stripped any other way with stripper or just manually by sanding, but I'm loving this lacquer thinner. I've got a pot scrubber and I just scrub and then wipe it away, and this stuff is just peeling off. It just turns to, it's kind of mushy. So you put the lacquer thinner on there, and as you scrub it, it kind of becomes mucky, and then you just wipe it off. And pretty much that entire finish is gone now. It did take probably about 15 minutes total to get all of that off of there. And now I've got my little contour. These are the rubber sanding blocks, and I was trying to find one that fits into that little groove the best. I put a piece of sandpaper or sanding net over it, and then hand sanding all of these details. I like to get down into the crevices first, and then I grab my surf prep to do all the other areas. And there we have it. This base is stripped and nice and clean. So there we are. We're going to drop in that on both directions and then take the jigsaw just to clean up those corners. I like it when I figure it out on one side, then I know when I go to the other sides, boom, I know exactly how to do it. And same thing over here, lacquer thinner. It gets on the body of the dresser there, so I have to strip that back just a little bit to get it all blended in. While I have it on its side, I might as well do my sanding. I'm scuff sanding the sides. This is so much easier than having to do it when it's standing upright. So I like to simplify things. Work smarter, not harder, right? So flip it over, same thing on the other side. This lacquer thinner is like, it's magical. I wish I had known about this when I spent hours and hours hand sanding things before, because taking that top layer off saves so much time with sanding. Anyway, I got the entire base stripped, and now it's time to sand the rest of the dresser. And I'm just getting out dents and dings and getting this all cleaned up here. Scuff sanding everything, and now it's time to get back up on the dolly. Whoa, come back here. Almost dropped it. I may have said some choice words, but whoop, saved it. And I love dusting everything out here with the leaf blower. Of course, I go in and wipe everything out too, but that just gets so much out of there. Okay, back with my microfiber towel that's just damp. I know that there's all kinds of cloths and things that you can do to get the dust off, but I love this microfiber towel and just a little bit of water. It works the best for me, so just have to kind of go with whatever works best. Tack cloths are fine, they're just not my favorite. All right, once I get everything all cleaned up again, time to pull out the stain. And I go crazy with mixing colors. I don't know why, I just can't do a single color. So I have 3 colors. Let's do dark oak and then castle stone, which is gray. And then we might as well throw in some whole wheat, which is kind of a middle. I probably could have started with just whole wheat and I would have been really close to this. But I decided to just mix colors until I figured out what I wanted. And I do have to match the stain on the other one. And I know that I had mixed these colors on the other dresser, so I had to mix them again for this. I have a little sponge. This is a Sponge Daddy because I like that it's super tight. The pores on this sponge are really tight, so I like it for staining. And this is a water-based stain, so I'm putting it on and I'm deciding that I'm really not going to wipe much off. It's light enough that I don't need to, and I'm able to kind of blend it and get it to the color that I want. And after I do all 3 sides, just remembering what I did on the other dresser, I'm going back over it, putting another coat on, evening everything out. Okay, time for some Bondo. I've got all these holes to fill because of course we are not reusing that hardware. And a lot of times I struggle with, well, not struggle, but I spend some time trying to figure out pulls or knobs or, what I want to do, combination of the 2. This one's easy because it's got to match the other one and I know what we're doing. And it's not 2 holes, it's 1. And I seem to never get lucky with these holes. The one that I need is right in the middle of the 2 that are there. So I have to fill them all in. Bondo takes about 20 to 30 minutes to set up. And then I'm just sanding everything. I like to use Bondo. I get lots of questions about why not use quick wood. You can, certainly. A good wood filler works. I find with the Bondo, if I'm sanding and I sand almost done, I don't sand it all the way down, I sand almost all gone. It is the smoothest after I paint it. I don't see the shadow of the holes that were there before. So, you just go with what works the best. I'm getting everything cleaned up again. And now this has had some time to dry. This is actually the next morning. And I'm putting on the top coat. So it is tinted. And I put several coats of that on there, just again following along with what I did last time. I'm getting my spray tent all set up. I'm going crazy today because I've been prepping a number of pieces, and you might see hints of them in this shot occasionally because I have a whole bunch of things in this tent. Here's another one next to me. Everything's getting painted the same color, so I like to be efficient and do them all at once. But now I need to mask off this base because I don't want any paint on my brand new stained base. Time for some primer. This is Stix Primer. It's tinted gray. I like the gray tinted primers because I think they have better coverage. I get rid of all those little hints of anything that had been there. Bold Black from Evolution is my paint, one of my favorite blacks. This is a Bold Black. The name is true. And I'm pouring a little paint for my touch-up kit that I give all of my clients. Okay, I do add water to this just because I'm spraying. And it gets thinned out quite a bit, but this paint has so much pigment in it, it does not affect it at all. We're ready to roll. Okay, the primer, I usually let this primer dry for a couple of hours and then I'm back in to do some scuff sanding. This is a sponge that I use. It's a really soft, squishy sponge that used to be 400 grit, and I've been using this same sponge for about 2 years. I'm sure it's a 600, 800 grit, I don't know. It's just enough to make some of that bumpiness go away, and it's perfect. And now, before I start my painting, I'm going to go ahead and drill my new holes. I'm just figuring out placement. I'm measuring how far I want so I can set up my jig. It's like, how far from the edge? Do I want it 4 inches, 5 inches? So I sort of hold the hardware up there and look at it and like, what looks balanced? You know, if they're too wide, they look odd. If they're too narrow, it looks weird. And I know some people look at those top drawers and go, why not just line them all up all the way down? But they were too far in, and I think that that would make the other drawers look kind of weird. So they'll be a little offset. Once I got my jig set up, all the drawers are the same size, so it's a matter of just putting the jig on there, drill the hole. I've got a tiny little vacuum that I'm getting all the shavings up with, the dust, vacuum it out. I'm putting temporary handles in there, which are my long screws. And then just cleaning up my drop cloth now, because when you're spraying, it does kick up dust. If you've got stuff down on the cloth, it will kick that up. Time for some paint. This is when the transformation really begins. This is a tall dresser, and I'm tall, but I felt like I'm a little close spraying. You're really supposed to be about 6 inches back, but it was working out, multiple coats, and it was just fine, but I was a little closer than I would have liked to have been. So here we are. Isn't this color beautiful? This is the first coat, obviously. I usually do around the edges so that I can just go back and forth here. I do get lots of questions about why I spray with the drawers in. I don't want black paint all over the inside of my dresser, nor do I want to mask everything off. So all I have to do in between coats is take the drawers out, and then with a little foam brush, I just go in and touch up these areas that the lip of the edge of the drawer sits on the outside of this cabinet. Of course, the sprayer can't reach that. So I just go in and touch that up by hand. And I also do the bottoms of the drawers. Sometimes I don't have to do this, but it just depends on how that drawer fits into the cabinet about whether or not it's getting sprayed. And these were not, so I just decided to touch them up. It's probably not anything anyone would ever see just because of how these drawers fit in there, that you'd never see it, but I know it. So I want to make sure it looks nice and tidy. So we're in between coats now. I always sand everything again because I want that buttery smooth finish. My microfiber towel that's barely damp, just getting all that dust off of there. And here we go with the second coat. And I don't sand after this coat if it is my final coat. I let it dry and we go right into top coat. I do multiple layers of top coat and I do sand in between, but you don't sand the last one. All right, I got everything all put away. I got the tent taken down, and this had hours to dry. Time for the reveal of the base, making sure I didn't get any paint on it. And thankfully, this came out beautifully. I just love this combination. All right, one more day. The next morning, I was able to put the hardware on. Again, the hardware choice was simple because it's got to match the other dresser. But these are, you may see these in lots of my videos because I love these knobs. They don't photograph the best. They look really tiny in pictures, but in person it's actually kind of a big knob. Okay, conditioning the sides of these drawers because they are dry. I want them to look beautiful. And here's a look back at where we started, and here we are now. I think this is beautiful, and it's really going to coordinate so nicely with the other dresser. Now they have a matching set. I hope you like it, and be sure to follow for more.